It exploded all over Twitter. Kids in MAGA hats taunting a Native American man. Well, not so fast. Soon after, other tapes surfaced where it appears the teens were doing cheers when approached by the drummer who beat the instrument in their faces. This was after different activists had approached and harassed the teens. So with more info, this new story seems different than the old story. How did this happen? Well, first, the media embraced this story because that's what we do. We can't resist being first. And it provided, or can't resist being second. Anyway, and the media provided their favorite villain, the red cap.
Yep.
Because for the press, you can't spell hate without hat. And the media, I came up with that today. Pretty good, huh? Anyway, the media knew this story also would distract from the BuzzFeed mess, so it was a nice break from their own humiliations. I saw the story unfold, and trusting my own eyes, I saw obnoxious teens. My chaperone instinct kicked in, meaning if I'm critiquing libs all day, I should also police my own side as well. By the way, isn't that the big question here? Where were the chaperones? I always had them when I was in high school. I deserved them. Anyway, I said the kids should apologize, but maybe it should be me for jumping the gun. However, I do know this. This story has changed once, and it's going to change again, which is why it's up to us and to me not to take the bait when we're bored or possibly drinking on a Saturday afternoon. I've said it before. Always be skeptical. Nobody knows where a story goes. That's great advice I gave. Next time, I'll take it. All right, I have a question for you, Dana.
Yeah.
The big story today, or one of the big stories today, is all of the celebrities and media types are taking down their Twitter, in which they were bashing these kids. I left mine up because I feel that if you make,
because you're principled.
well, I think that you should. I think taking something down if you think it's wrong. Now, if the tweet endangers somebody, you should take it down. But I think you should always leave your footprints up.
Right,
until you take it all away.
Right. I mean, in some ways, you know how like we complain that in the media, like something will happen and then there's a correction.
Yes.
But the correction only gets a tenth of the attention as the original article. So I could see where you might want to take it down. But it does raise a very interesting question. They're trying to erase it so that, you know, like this whole fight in Europe. Do you have a right to be forgotten? Mm-hmm. Well, one thing you have a right to do is you don't have to tweet.
Yeah.
You actually don't have to do it, but you should, as an adult in particular, have to own what you say. Mm-hmm. And if you got it wrong, you just add, like, so I got it wrong. And then you try to get some attention, I guess, on that, if that was the concern. Yeah.
Jesse, the school may sue for slander. I also saw that on Twitter. But I think it might, I think it sounds like do they have a case?
Suing for slander is tough. It's a pretty high bar. I mean, the president wants to sue everybody for slander. Has he been successful? No. Probably not. But that was one of your better monologues, Greg.
Oh,
what did you do differently this time? No, I didn't mean that as an insult. I thought it was very good. I have a little different take.
Okay.
Okay. Here's my take.
That was a great insult.
This story became a controversy because the guy smirked.
Ooh.
Now, as a smirker, I'd like to defend smirking.
You were so right.
Smirking is not a hate crime.
No.
Smirking, I do, when I'm either amused or content or calm. And sometimes it's used to diffuse a situation because it's kind of a non-violent thing. But people hate being smirked at. And I've often been said that I have the most punchable face on television.
I've even said that to you.
People say that. People say that to me on Twitter all the time. And when I was looking at this story, I saw that people were saying this kid had the most punchable face besides Jesse Waters in America. And for some reason, smirking elicits this reaction. But bottom line, Greg, the black Hebrew Israelites, they're not getting any attention here because they're the ones that instigated this entire thing, and I've run to these people in the streets. They're some of the most racist, hateful people you will ever encounter in your whole life, and I understand why these kids were chanting and trying to create a counter-protest in reaction to it.
I don't know if that... I think they were chanting along with the Native American, but to Jesse's point about this group, I used to see them in Times Square all the time.
They're the worst.
What is their... I don't know that much about them. What is their religion? What is their issue? Do you know?
The Bible, I mean, basically what they're saying is that, you know, they're the real Israelites.
Okay.
And that they're the real people who are the chosen ones by God, not Jewish people and all the rest. Right. And they have all sorts of sort of elaborate mythology, ideology, religious theory that puts them at the center of the universe. And they do say hateful things, and they can be threatening. But what you heard here initially was that the Native American elder said there are only 4 of the Israelites, and there was a big group of kids in the MAGA hats and all the rest, and he thought they were attacking because the Israelites were saying the offensive things, then the kids were starting to come back and screaming at them, and he
the kids
initially
were screaming.
says,
I just saw them laughing.
well, no, chanting or whatever the high school chant was.
But they never said build the wall or whatever.
I don't know about that. I don't know. But they come. But so he intervenes, according to him, and what he told reporters was he intervened to stop the high school kids from attacking what he described as their prey, these 4 black guys, right? But then, of course, we see subsequent tape, maybe not the case. But I will say that what strikes me is that both the Roman Catholic high school and the diocese both initially apologized based on what we first saw in the tape.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I thought that they should apologize because what I saw, just the initial stuff, and I thought, my first thing, though, is I just didn't see any adults there.
Yeah.
Now what we have to worry about is what happens to this kid, it's other students whose face is everywhere and is getting death threats because that's what happens.
Which is crazy, yeah. And he's saying he and his family are getting death threats. I watched 2 hours plus of this video from 3 different angles, and I did find it fascinating that the only thing people were talking about this kid's smirk, and they were talking about the chanting, and you could argue, you could say this is a bunch of high school boys and their parents maybe need to have a conversation with them about when you're in a chaotic or antagonistic situation, just walk away, don't stand there, don't stare somebody down. You can say that, but what did the kids, so far from what we know, what did they actually do? There's no assault here. What you do have, though, is the Black Hebrew Israelites shouting anti-gay slurs, racist slurs. They
called them blue-eyed demons.
Yes.
It's literally demonization.
Call them young Klansmen. They call them school shooters. And they do that before and after the entrance of Nathan Phillips. So what it looks like is a chaotic scene. And I watched it from every angle, and I didn't see Nathan Phillips get surrounded by them in a menacing way. I saw him walk right into the scene. So I think in the age of Twitter, it's hard because you see the story, you're right, you want to jump, you want to comment, but I was surprised to see how many people, and I have to commend some reporters. There were some reporters on other networks that jumped to conclusions and walked it back and said, listen, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, because when you watch the whole video, it's so clear that these kids were being antagonized. How they responded, you could say, wasn't mature. I don't expect a high school teenager to be mature. And maybe they did say some crazy stuff that's going to get unleashed. But as of now, the amount of coverage that they got for a rude expression versus what those Black Israelites said is astonishing difference.
Well, I think if we learned anything, there's a future Jesse Waters out there.
And he's got the hat over.
He's got the hat.
I will never wear that hat. I'll get knocked out.
Yes, and why cover that hair?
Exactly.
That hair is not made for a hat.
Exactly.
All right. Look at that thing. It's just growing, man. It's a chia pet. Look at that.
Stop it.